What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another video. If you don't know who I am, that means you're new. I'm Mark. What's good with y'all? Go check out my other videos. Check them out. But first day on this one. So it's been a couple of weeks. Welcome back to another episode of Debunking Anti Gunners. So on this episode, y'all are just scared to get into a fight. Okay, that's what we're debunking today. So this actually is really fucking stupid on so many levels, and I'm going to get into it. But for starters, let's make this 100% clear. If someone tries fighting me, and I don't want to fight them, and they consistently try to fight me, they're going to see what happens. You feel me? It's not going to be me fighting them, but let's get into it. So, for starters, all right, let's say it's actually legitimately a situation where it can turn into a fight. You know what I mean? Let me point out why it's better to just avoid it, or better yet, if it keeps, if the person who's trying to aggress on you keeps persisting, you use your firearm. Here's why. I'm going to go into a couple of reasons, all right? So, for starters, I don't know about y'all. I grew up in a pretty, not even a super shitty area, but like a decently bad area. All right. Fights were a common occurrence, and some of them got bad. Like some of them got real bad. Like I have seen fights that ended up with people dying. So it's not exactly like, you can't die from just being in a fight. I mean, hell, there's literally videos of people. One punch, the guy falls to the ground because he's knocked out, hits his head on the floor too hard, bam, he dies. You see what I mean? So fights, regardless of if there's weapons involved or not, 100% can be a danger to your life. There's no arguing there. There's no, oh, well, what about this? Oh, no one's going to do that. How do you know that? People like to make the argument, oh, well, why would they take it so far to, do such a great bodily harm when it's just a fight? Why would they persist on fighting you? If it's not that big of a deal, you think it's not that big of a deal to cause great bodily harm, why would you even think it's that big of a deal to fight someone in the first place? It doesn't make sense. But now, on top of the fact that without even the element of weapons, fights can turn deadly pretty damn easy. All right. And keep in mind, guys, I'm going to say this right now. I am no Mike Tyson by any standard. I am no Mike Tyson. Now, am I a bitch? Hell no. I know how to fight. That's one of the first things my daddy and my brothers taught me was how to fight. That's, you know what I mean? That's just how it is. If you grown up as a little boy, if you had any sort of male role model in your life, they taught you how to fight. So, you know what I mean? So I'm no Mike Tyson though. But what I can say is simply that, one, let's say I do get into a scuffle, right? I'm getting into this fight. Somehow I either knock the guy on the ground, I'm on top of him punching or whatever. Police show up. One, I'm probably going to be the one getting arrested. Two, they're going to look at me and say, oh, you have a gun on you. How do we know you weren't planning on using it? There's always going to be that question into there, which could always up your charges there. That's something no one wants to have to deal with. Now, onto a whole separate aspect of it. Let's say you are losing the fight. Let's say you are losing the fight. That's very easy for somebody to, even if you're not losing a fight, it's very easy for somebody to take your gun off your body when you're fighting them. It's not like you guys are going to be at a distance from each other. If you guys are fist fighting, you guys are, close. So here's what I'm going to say. Look, if you have to get into a fight, at least have somebody you can hand your gun off to. You know what I mean? That's a whole different situation then. You don't have the gun on your person. That's a whole nother situation. If you absolutely have to get into a fight, which, I mean, there are some states where there is such thing as mutual combat. So that might be a better situation, But please, at least just give your gun off to somebody that you can trust that'll hold it for you during the fight and not steal it or not sit there and, use it when it doesn't need to be used. There's so many problems with, oh yeah, you're just scared to fight, because fights come with so many different situations, variables. It can be a matter of environment. It can be a matter of who you're fighting. It can be a matter of how many people you're fighting. It can be a matter of a bunch of shit. Like, that's the issue here. It could be a matter of whether there's an element of weapons on their side or not. There's so many, variables that make fighting one of those situations where it's better to just avoid it as a whole. And you'll notice that's how a lot of concealed carriers are, is they don't want to get into fights. They don't want to sit there and deal with none of that. They don't want to escalate situations because there's no need to. Because if someone tries fighting me, as I said, and I don't want to fight, because a majority of the time I'm not walking. Look, there are a couple of times where, I get in a shit mood, walk around. Everybody, every guy does this at least. See somebody as you're walking past them, first thought in your head is, I could beat his ass. He look like a bitch. That might just be me, but I know a lot of other people do it. All right. Do I ever act on it though? No, because I don't want to get into a fight. There's no reason to get into a fight. I carry with me everywhere I go. If I get into a fight and someone can take my gun off my person and use it against me, the only way I'm going to be able to save myself is if I can get to my backup gun first. You know what I mean? That's a situation I'd rather not be in personally. So and keep in mind, all this is simply if it's a situation where it legitimately was something you could, fight someone instead of having to use your firearm. These are situations where it's like, oh yeah, well, and you'll see what I mean when I'm saying that. I'm not saying legitimately like, oh yeah, you didn't have to use your firearm. There are situations where you do have to use your firearm. That's the truth of the matter here, even if it's just fights. But here's what I more so mean, all right? And you'll see how, these are situations where someone could actually make the argument, well, you could have fought the guy. Someone could make the argument. Whether it be successful or not, they could try to, all right? Now, let me put it like this. If a mass shooter comes into a goddamn store or some shit, or somewhere where I'm at, and starts shooting the place up, if you think I'm going to go there just bare fucking handed, you are absolutely stupid. You think I'm going to sit here and fight a mass shooter barehanded, you're stupid. Because I'm sorry, let's be honest here. I feel like people who are anti-gunner, they only use this, this argument because they think, oh yeah, well, you're just worried about shooting a person who's trying to fight you. Bro, I'm worried about keeping myself, my family safe. You see what I mean? I don't give a fuck about none of that other shit. Someone wants to fight me and I tell them I'm not trying to fight you and they keep trying to fight me. Whose fault is that? That ain't my fault. And you see what I mean? So when you make that whole argument, one, there are a ton of situations where it being a fight isn't the problem. There are more situations where it just being a matter of a possibility of a fist fight isn't the problem than there are where it is. You see what I mean? We're not dealing with a matter of, oh yeah, every single time someone uses a gun, they could have just used their hands instead. They couldn't have. Here's a perfect example, Elijah Dickin. You think from 40 yards, I believe it was, 40 yards with a Glock at that? You think that wasn't good enough? You think that wasn't good enough? You're insane. What do you think this man was going to do? Fucking Mrs. Incredible that shit? Reach the arm all the way over there and punch the fucking mass shooter? Come on now. I'm sorry, but this is just one of those arguments that it makes no sense, because if you're going to argue against guns, at least have an argument that you could try to use for other situations other than the one specific one you're mentioning. This is one of those arguments where it only works under a couple of very specific scenarios. And even in those scenarios, as I said, a fight, all right, there are way too many variables for you to even want to take the risk in all reality. Who wants to get into a fight with somebody? You don't know if he has friends with him. You don't know if he has a gun on him. You don't know none of that. So why would you even want to get into the fight in the first place? Why would you want to have to, protect yourself? There's no need to. If you can avoid it, avoid it. But if someone's going to persist it, don't be ashamed. You got to defend your life. That's how the fuck the world works. You see what I mean? You can't sit here and try to, be condescending to gun owners and try to essentially bash them, saying, oh, you're weak, you're scared to get into a fight, try to make gun owners look like they're bitches. That's essentially all they're trying to do. They're trying to say, oh yeah, you're not man enough to take an ass whooping, shit like that. when a majority of situations where guns are used aren't a matter of, oh, someone's scared to get an ass whooping. A majority of them are people are getting robbed, shot at. A majority of them are, there's a lot of situations here where it's not like you can just use your hands. To make that argument is absolutely stupid. Now, what I will say is I do hear that argument also come up a lot when people are discussing crime nowadays. Oh, yeah, well, these kids are scared to, get into fights. They'd rather just shoot each other. I'm going to say this right now. If y'all don't remember what the 90s and 80s were like, I can pull up a couple of crime statistics that would show y'all it's not exactly like it was much better. All right. So I'm just going to say that right there. The guns aren't the problem. The people who are using them improperly are the problem. However, they're not using them improperly because they don't want to get into a fight. That's not how people who actually are following the law and own guns legally and do everything how they're supposed to operate. That's just not how it works. We don't carry guns because we want to avoid fights. We carry guns because we want to protect ourselves. Whether that be from somebody who is constantly trying to fight us, or all the way up to a fucking mass shooter, all the way up to a goddamn tyrannical government. You see what I mean? We have the right to defend ourselves here. It's not none of those are a matter of, oh yeah, well, let's just fight the guy instead. That's not how it works. That's not how it works in any way, shape, or form. Now, I want to point this out. I'm not going to go into too much detail because it's not my place to, but I know for a fact this happened. This happened here in Florida. They're essentially, from what I gathered from the situation, because there was a lot going around online about it, a big fight broke out at a house party. This kid, and I think this was in Miami, I could be wrong, but this kid got beaten bad. From what I can remember, he did not end up making it. There are countless situations all around our country that are similar to this, where somebody gets beaten to death. As a matter of fact, that's one of the biggest topics of New York drill, I believe it is. They sit there and they're talking about, I think it was this jit named Noah. He got like beat to death or something. It was something like that. He got stomped to death. And that's another thing too. If you think that you're in a fight and it's just going to end once you hit the ground, you're not living in reality. The simple matter of fact is that some people, they will keep going. They will get on top of you to keep hitting you. They will sit there and start kicking you in the fucking face. All of these can kill you. All of it can kill you. To argue that you shouldn't protect yourself and try to avoid that the best you can is absolutely stupid. The argument that, oh yeah, you're just scared to catch an ass whooping. No, we don't want to die. There's a possibility of death or great bodily harm that we don't want to. We don't want to deal with that. We don't want to have to deal with none of it. There's no reason to have to deal with it if we don't have to. There are countless situations. I'm not going to sit here and keep going in circles, but there are countless situations where fights have led to death. And as I said, there are three main things you have to worry about in situations where, it actually is a fight that turned into a shooting, something like that, right? There are three big variables that people don't ever realize, all right? Changes the situation entirely. Actually, four. The environment. Where you are at changes everything. Everybody can tell you for a fact, if you're somewhere where you're in foreign territory is the best way to put it for you, whether it's another country, another neighborhood, whatever. You don't know shit around here. You need to be a little more on, cautious. All right, you can't, you get into a fight, you don't know where to go if you do need to leave. There's that. There is the size of the person you were fighting. I'm sorry, but if some dude who is fucking Shaq size but is ripped walks out to me and is trying to start a fight with me, you think I'm gonna fight him? You think I'm gonna fight him? Look, I'm 6'1", maybe 180 pounds. I'm not gonna fight him. I'm not gonna fight him. He's gonna feel this heat. You feel me? I ain't gonna fight him. All right, I will lose. I might die just from that fight. There's 3 if the person you're fighting has friends. I'm not about to get jumped. I'm not about to get jumped. I've seen it countless times. Look, honestly, you know what? After this video, if y'all got time after this video, go ahead and just look up people being beaten to death. Don't watch the videos because it's honestly, it's pretty gory. But you will find countless situations where somebody has gotten beaten to death. No weapons have been involved. Just hands and feet. Now, on top of that, the 4th and final one is you don't know if they have a weapon on them. Those are the 4 biggest things you have to concern yourself with is your environment, the size of the person you're fighting, if they have friends with them, if they have a weapon on them. These are all things that you won't, the only one that you'll actually truthfully be able to gather other than the size of the person you're fighting is the environment you're in. You won't know if they have friends with them until it happens, or at least unless the friends step up right with them. You don't know if he has a weapon on him until it's pulled out. You have no clue. So why would you want to go through all that instead of just avoiding it? You see what I mean? I'm not saying let people walk all over you, because if someone tries to persist on a fight when you made it clear, hey, I don't want to fight you, you need to do what you got to do. You feel me? But it's not a matter of being scared to fight somebody. Knowing all of these variables make me want to avoid fights completely. Because if someone's going to keep trying to persist, I'm not going to want to fight them. I'm just going to protect my life and make sure that I do it the best way possible. You see what I mean? So no, it's never a matter of being scared to fight. It's simply a matter of not wanting to have to use our gun. It's a matter of not wanting to have to worry about getting beaten to death, getting our guns stolen from us and used on us. It's so many variables that it just is a situation you'd rather avoid. You don't want to get into a fight. You don't want to have to deal with any of that. And if someone tries to get into a fight with you, try to de-escalate it. If they keep persisting on fighting you or they put hands on you, do what you have to do. You see what I mean? That's simply how it works. With that being said, I can already tell I'm going round and round in circles. Let me go ahead and stop myself. Y'all make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, hit that bell. When you hit that bell, hit all. And because you agree with me that the entire concept of, oh, well, you're just scared of getting into a fight, that's why you own guns, is absolutely fucking asinine. Go ahead and make sure to check out all my other videos. Y'all know what the deal is. Y'all make sure to stay legal, stay safe, stay dangerous. Have a good one, y'all. Peace.